Thank you very much. So the presentation I'm going to show today is mainly about the digital strategies that Givaudan decided to take, and focusing mainly on the B2B challenges, because when we go into this kind of tools, no consumers know about Givaudan. They don't know what we do and who we are. And in addition, as we are a flavor and fragrance company, most of the information we want to trigger is around how product tastes or how products smell. And we all know that consumers approach a product on a holistic way. That is to say, they look at the product as such, and getting information on fragrance and flavors is really very difficult. Because things people will say is mainly, I like it or I dislike it. And when they dislike, as I say, it's chemical. And when they like it, as I say, it's fresh. So how can we get further information to provide to our flavorists and perfumers to create better fragrances and flavors? So the example I'm going to talk about is mainly around our fragrance strategy. So I'm not going to show again those kind of information. I think during the last 2 days we have seen quite a lot saying that mobile research and the way this has changed the way we do our surveys today is really huge. One thing which I would like to focus a little bit more maybe is on the fact that consumers use a lot their smartphones for shopping. And this is one of the areas we decided to look at in order to develop our strategy. Another few numbers, which I think you are all familiar with, is that not only the smartphones has been very important, but the way people connect with each other. They are connecting every day via social media, and they really exchange on everything. So there is a big engagement, but also very big power from consumers to lead on certain brands and what they can say about brands. So what does it mean for Givaudan? When we look at what exists already on the market, we had different points. There is really a large scale of data outside. So how can we win information just looking at the data that exists? Again, we have to keep in consideration that what we are interested in is about flavors and fragrances. There is also an opportunity to really observe consumers in real life context. We have seen a lot about ethnographies and videos, which show that there is really an opportunity to capture consumers on the spot. It's also an opportunity to have an holistic approach. As I said, a fragrance as such doesn't exist for a consumer. They think about detergents, they think about fine fragrances, but not automatically what is inside as such. There is an opportunity also to get a deep intimacy with a large number of people or with very specific consumers. So in our case, specific consumers will be much more involved into the fragrance design. We can have constant consumer reactions. It's information we can get on the go. So whenever we want or whenever we need, we have updated information. And it's also a way to indirectly interact with consumers in order to get more accurate data. We have seen that when we do our questionnaire, most of the time, if we start to target fragrances, of course, people will say fragrance is important. But when you trigger the information as a holistic way, you might see that fragrances is important in some cases and maybe less important in others. So we started to look at 3 pillars. We have developed an internal way to listen and learn from consumers. So this is a social media mining proprietary tool, which has been developed focusing on some specific sites where consumers talk about fine fragrances mainly, and looking at what consumers says about those products in terms of liking, disliking, what they buy, why they buy, where they buy, etc. So this is a dashboard that we have in-house, which allows to provide information to our fragrance perfumers and also to redefine our fragrance strategies. The second one is a way to collect and analyze information through our own applications. So this is the one I will be talking most about. It's application that you can download on smartphone, which is called iPerfumer. And this app provides real-time global data on consumer behavior and preferences. And the last one is the way we engage with consumers through communities. So we have also some specific communities according to category users. We have two kind of communities. One which we call the fragrance families. Those communities are mainly dedicated to what we call consumer products, that is to say detergents, washing machine, personal care, etc. Because it's not about targeting one person, but it's about targeting a person within the family. So we know that those products are bought potentially by the housewife or one person in the house, but at the end, the usage is for the whole family. So this was our strategy with the fragrance families. And the perfume club is more for fine fragrance. So this one is a little bit more prestige, I would say, a little bit more premium. And we have recruited consumers who love perfumes and really are deeply involved into perfumes. It's like a kind of expert perfume community. So just one example of the advantage of those communities. So going through the fragrance community, this is a kind of consumer community dedicated to fragrance developments. And we do every kind of questions. We can just send them some quick questions on the concept or things they like. We also send them products at home so they can taste and give us feedback, etc. But there is one thing that we started to change is the way of asking questions. So what we did is that instead of having just an online questionnaire, we asked consumers to answer some questions by videotaping themselves. So this really gave us the opportunity to get much more insights than just a questionnaire with already defined questions. The opportunity also to put much more open questions, but also the opportunity to see how they deal when they have specific problems in order to develop new products. So here I'm just going to show you a few seconds video about a person, because we had an unmet consumer needs that we discovered is that some of the candles which are on the market are really not strong enough, and we wanted to understand which candle had those kind of characteristics and how consumers deal when they don't like the strength of the candles.
You can't really smell it. It's not very strong at all. So what I might do is take the wax out of here and put it in my Scentsy that I love. That works great.
So yeah, this is just to show you that this potentially would have not been an outcome we would have get if we have just asked some specific questions. So here, it's not just understanding how the product works, but find new ideas of developing different kind of products which can work better. So now if we go into the iPerfumer application. So how does it started? It started with the fact that we wanted to have a direct interaction with consumers, but as I said, being a B2B company, it's kind of difficult, because when you have those kind of apps, you really need to engage with consumers, and the engagement is a lot linked to the association to a brand. So we first defined what could be the job to be done by the application. What it should do, how it would be used, for which purpose, and how it can build information also for Givaudan. We look at the market. So we have two apps. We have one app for fine fragrances, and we have one app for hair freshener. So if I look at the hair freshener business case, we look at first the market, and we find out this is a very fragmented market. A lot of category, lot of new launches, and this is always increasing, and a lot of also seasonal portfolio. So in a way, at the end, consumer felt a little bit lost in the selection of the products. The second thing we find out is that there is really outside some consumers which are heavy users of those kind of products and very engaged into the perfume. Even if they are a small percentage of the population and potentially not representative of the overall population, they are very engaged and very precious people who can give us feedback on fragrances as such. And last but not least, we look at also the way consumers use the smartphones in terms of buying intent, and just a few numbers, but just to show that the smartphone is really a very strong media in order to buy products. So with all this information, we defined an hypothesis and an idea which would be about creating a platform specifically for heavy consumers to find products that best match their fragrance preferences and introduce them to additional formats which would match with the favorite product they have. The first objective is really an objective to give a benefit to the consumer. When we develop such applications, it's really about the consumer, which is in the center. He should see what is for him in the application, otherwise he will not be using it. So we wanted to provide him a tool which helps him explore, find and shop for specific products. What would be the consequence of doing such an application? It would be about growing the category, improving consumers' education and shopping experience, and at the end for Givaudan is about gaining meaningful insights on fragrance development. To do so, we had a 3-step project. The first one was about finding the supplier. And this was really important to have somebody who understands the fragrance industry. So we work with Trackman. It's a company who has been created, in fact, by an ex-colleague which were working at Givaudan. And therefore, it was really good because he knew our business and he knew what would be of interest outside for consumers. The second thing is that when consumers buy products, in general, if we try to understand why they buy one product or the other, it's kind of difficult because they cannot describe the products. So we decided to connect the application with what we call a market insight tool, which I will explain a bit after. And then we had different iterations of prototypes that we tested with consumers. So the Fragrance Land. So Fragrance Land is an internal tool that we have at Givaudan, which is made of more than 120,000 products, which are registered worldwide. And the information we have on those products is, as you can see here, a kind of product passport. We have all information on the brand, on the product, on the consumers. But in addition to all that, we also have a description, olfactory description of the product, which has been generated by our perfumers and evaluators. So the idea for us is to connect a market product with the way it is described by our internal experts and connect this with our app. Then we did some prototyping. So the first version was done in 2010. It was the iPerfumer for fine fragrances. Then it has developed in a second version in 2012. And just recently this year, we launched the application for home fragrances. So the home fragrances is really new and has been really just launched. When we did the prototyping, we really interacted with consumers every day, asking them questions around, if I told you that we can develop an app to help you buying perfumes, what would be your expectation, how this would help you, for which purpose, and what would be the challenges, other challenges you have today to try to optimize the application. So what is the benefit for Givaudan at the end? It's around really raising the awareness on home fragrances category at the point of sales, providing fragrance education to consumers, and making a hero of the heavy consumers, turning them into advocates. What we wanted here is to really capture heavy people who are heavily involved into the fragrance, but even improve their education in order to gain much more interesting information for us. The second thing is that we really wanted to provide a tool that is of use for consumers, promoting the discovery of the home fragrances. So not only they will be able to look at what is in the portfolio and be able to find products, but we will be able to recommend them products according to their liking, but also according to the liking of other consumers. The other thing is that we wanted to help them in their purchase intent. So what we find out is that consumers most of the time say because of the turnover of the products, they have difficulties when they go in the shop to find the same product again. So what we did is that we have put also a location-based service. This is available only in the US for the time being, but will be developed in the other countries later on. And at the end, it's about maximizing the consumer satisfaction. If we are able to better understand what consumers prefer, we can better drive the fragrance design and therefore create better products. So concretely, how it works. So the iPerfumer home fragrance has to be downloaded. Then you have to select your country. Why the selection of the country is important? Because according to the country you select, it will download only the portfolio of products which is available in your country. Then you have to enter your profile. So very high-level information, country, gender, age, and join our community is about making sure that you can connect with the other people on the community. Then it will ask you questions around the kind of scents and fragrances you like. So you will have to select up to 5 fragrances that you like and up to 5 that you dislike in terms of category. We didn't want to go into too difficult descriptions of fragrances. It will also ask you where do you use fragrances? And at the end, it will ask you to start rating some of the products, because we need to understand what are the products people like and dislike in order to make the algorithm works. So then you will be able to search for the products either by the scents category, by the brand, or by the format of the product. And then you will have a page like that when you can just say like, dislike, and you can also put the product in your wishing list or locate where the products are sold. Once you have done that, it will, for example, if I want to look at for aerosol and I love the Glad product, it will give me related products as a recommendation. How it's done is that it takes into consideration the information you have entered, as well as information entered by other consumers. So if other consumers are also liking Glad, it will also recommend some of the other products that they also liked, or the same for dislike. It takes in consideration both directions. Today, we have a very big community, I would say, in fine fragrances. And as I said, the home fragrances community is just started. So more than 120,000 users, 2/3 female, 1/3 male, which has been rating more than 260,000 products. In the home fragrances, we have less. This is something that we need to promote a little bit more, but we are still working on it. As you can see, we have also an age distribution, which is quite different, mainly because of the usage of the product. Home products are more used by families, as I said before, so that's why. Now, what do we do with the insight we collect? This is just to show you one example of insights. So, for example, in Brazil, we have downloaded the information that was collected on the fine fragrances application. And here we can have an overview of the gender, the fragrances which has been rated, the average age of the people who are using the fragrances. We can see the top rated fragrances. And what is the most interesting for us is to connect those top-rated fragrances with the olfactory description of the products, which I was telling you before, which is in our Fragrance Land database. Because this allows us to see what is the main characteristics of the products which have been liked or disliked by consumers. So here we can see that 61% of the products was much more floral. And then we have the thing. This allows us to do some kind of preference maps in terms of olfactory directions worldwide. Another kind of information that we can get from the application. So here it's the top-rated fragrance overall for all the different products. But we can also have the top-rated fragrances by category. So this is important for us because when we run benchmarking studies within Givaudan, most of the time we do blind. So we have quite a lot of information on blind, but then we can also correlate with non-blind, which is with the interaction with all the rest, with the packaging, where the product is sold, etc. And then, again, when we have some kind of winners, so here you see, for example, we had the fresh balsam. We can go into the details, again, because this is linked to the Fragrance Land tool, the details of what the product is about. So we can see a description of the scent. We can see what are the related products to this one, which could be of interest, and go really deep dive into the information of this thing. What we are doing now is that we are connecting this database also with the benchmark database, which is more the blind evaluation of the products. And another insight that we are collecting and working on is what we call the heat map. So how to read this kind of map is that here on the left you have the top-rated products. So and then the other one, related 1, related 2, related 3 are what is advised by the algorithm. What is interesting to see here is not only the products which are related to one, which can give you ideas of range extension. So for example, for the pumpkin cupcake candle, we see that other related products are lavender products. So maybe a range extension into the lavender area could be of interest. But we can also have a look at products which are top rated and at the same time also related to other products, because those products are really very interesting. So if I take an example, the Yankee Candle Apple Chai is not the top, but it's in the top 10, and is also related to some of the top products. So we might go into a deep dive into this product, understanding what is inside and how it is described, to see how we can leverage knowledge on this product into other products. Feedback on the tool. So the tool did receive the 2012 FIFI Awards. In 2012, they decided to segment the category of the FIFI winner into 3, and Givaudan did win the information technology category. And there are some feedbacks also. So this is an article that was on the Wall Street Journal of a woman who went and tried different digital perfume finders. And what she said about this one is that it was the best recommendation she received from all the tools she tested, even if she didn't buy it. So what next? This is a great tool to generate new insights. Today we are generating the kind of information I showed you, but we can do much more by connecting to all the other information that we have in-house, and potentially also developing new functionalities on the application. So for example, the retailer localization that I showed you before was not initially in the iPerfumer fine fragrances, and this came out because we run a survey around the people who are using the application to see how we can be improved. In addition, there is a further education of consumers on the home fragrances market through the development of Ethernet iPerfumer site. So we have an Ethernet iPerfumer for fine fragrances which already exists. So you have the link here, and we want to develop it also for the home fragrances. And then it's an ongoing exercise about getting more and more feedback for further evolutions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Christel. Thank you. Have we got any questions from the floor for Christel? Certainly.
Thank you. So I think this is very interesting, and it can make our lives a lot easier for you know, if you're manufacturing products and stuff like that. But what I'd like to ask is that, is there any way that we can find, because for example, if we're using lavender, there are like 100 sets of lavender from different companies. Is there any way that we can, you know, find which kind of lavender used in a certain products that is preferred?
Yeah, this is, in fact, the link with the FragranceLand tool that I talked about before. So FragranceLand, what is it exactly? It's a tool where each time there is a new launch, there are sessions with perfumers and evaluators who are going to describe the products. So we have a very precise description of the different lavenders. So for example, if I would have to go back to those two products, the Hairwick and the BBW lavenders, in-house, we know exactly which kind of lavender it is because it has been evaluated. So we will go back to the kind of profile, and then we will look into this profile for further development. But it's in-house information.
Philippe has a microphone on its way.
I'm Philip from iSquare, and I have a question about the sensory kind of questionnaire that you showed the video about. Can you actually compare this at-home sensory exploration with the real sensory labs that you probably also have, on how people would rate a product, on how they much like it? And
yeah, I mean, we did some comparison when we started to do those kind of studies with our communities, and we still use traditional online, but it's much more when we are in an area which is just about understanding how to further improve things which already works well. But when we are triggering more issues on things or brands where we have difficulties to win, and where there are some unmet consumers' expectations, then we saw that these kind of videos are really helping much more. Because you don't only have the rating of the person, you don't only have the open question, which in general, they have the tendency, as we have seen before, to be short. But you really have the behavior, and at the same time, if the person, when she's smelling, have an idea like this women, she will show you the idea. So you can go beyond what you have presented to the consumer. So it's two different, and we are running both.
Very good. Any more questions? It amazes me how the name of some of these candles almost sounds like food. You've got butterscotch, pecan pie. I've got one really quick question for you. Were there incentives for the participants, or was the incentive almost that they get to see the results?
So you mean for the iPerfumer application?
Yes.
There is absolutely no incentive, because the incentive is more the usage of the application. Like you would use whatever application you need to make your life easier. So that's why I was saying this is really an indirect way of getting information. People download the application because they see an interest in the application.
Great. That's the best incentive that can be. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Christel.